Hi, and welcome to Talk More Talk, a solo Beatles video cast, where we talk about all things solo as well as, the Beatles once in a while comes into play. We have a very full show tonight, so we want to get to things as soon as possible. It is going to be kind of a Ringo-Rama show tonight, I guess you could say. We are going to be talking about the All-Starr Band, the lineups we like best, and people that we'd like to see perform in the band. And we want all of you to join in the discussion. As always, you guys are a big part of the show. So before we get to that, my name is Kit O'Toole. I am the author of Songs We Were Singing, Guided Tours to the Beatles' lesser-known tracks, as well as Michael Jackson FAQ, All That's Left to Know About the King of Pop, and I also write the Deep Beatles column for Something Else Reviews. Let me bring on my esteemed co-hosts and good friends. To the left, we have someone we all know very, very well. He is the host of the syndicated show Every Little Thing, and he does some wonderful shows where he kind of groups songs into different themes. It's a lot of fun. And he is also the co-host of the very popular podcast, Things We Said Today. You know him, you love him, Ken Michaels. Hi, Ken.
Hi, Kit. Hi, Beatle peoples. Good to be here.
Yeah, good to see you. You look tan, actually.
I don't know why.
Yeah, you do. You look tan.
I haven't been outside much. I don't know.
Wow,
what's
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you look tan. And last but most certainly not least, you know him from YouTube, from his popular channel, Mean Mr. Mayo, where he talks about his adventures in collecting and music in general, and some comedy thrown in there. You also know him and you also love him, Mean Mr. Mayo, but we call him Joe. Hi, Joe.
Hi, how you doing, Kit? Hello, Ken, and everybody. What's my name? I hear anybody out there?
Joe.
Just in case anybody forgot.
Now,
okay, listen.
Oh, good.
Kit, before we go on, I want to tell you, usually I just need a drink here. On my channel, I'm known for my trademark green cup.
Yes.
But I thought I'd start using this cup here. If that looks at all familiar to you at all. I mean, I don't know. I think it was a gift from you. I hope I got the right one.
Yeah,
I don't have that many of them.
Yep. It's a Turks and Caicos mug. So,
yeah, that's it right there.
That's right. That's right.
Makes its debut.
Yep, thank you. I'm
Very nice.
Drink in good health. Absolutely. Before we get to everything, I just want to mention, yes, there are 3 of us tonight, although there may be 4 at one point, because Ken Womack was not able to join us. He's really busy with beginning of school year stuff. But Tom Hunyady, he's got some lame excuse. He's seeing some guy Ringo in concert tonight. I mean, come on. I mean, give me a break. No, he really is. He's seeing Ringo tonight in Phoenix, and if he can, he will join us. He's going to try to join us remotely, depending on connection. So we may have a cameo appearance from Tom, and of course, he'll give us the full lowdown on the concert in the next episode. So, All right, that was a lot to cover. So, let's begin, as we always do, with the news. So, Ken, what have you got for us?
Okay, kind of ironic that this show is almost entirely about Ringo, because Ringo is in the news today. Word leaking out today. This came from Beatles Fans, and I must stress these are unconfirmed reports, is that Ringo's new album will be coming out October 25th with a possible title. You're going to love this.
Oh, boy.
What's My Name?
You're kidding. That's great. Kidding. I love it. I love that.
Of course, he says awesome. That at every single concert to get a response from the crowd.
Yep.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
if it is true.
It's a fun title. I thought you were going to say it was something about love again, which is love is great, but no more Ringo. No
more. More peace and love.
I hope it's true.
This new album is said to have appearances from Paul McCartney, Steve Lukather, Dave Stewart, Colin Hay, and Joe Walsh at International Beatles Week in Liverpool. Jack Douglas was there, and he said that he produced the lead-off single and that it has Paul and Ringo sharing lead vocals.
Mm.
And
Wow.
Douglas said it was sensational. There's an unconfirmed track listing for the song titles, and they are Got to Get Up to Get Down, which, if you remember, Ringo was talking about that with Howard Stern,
Mhm.
and I think that was a song that he wrote with Joe Walsh. So that's Got to Get Up to Get Down. It's Not Love That You Want is another one.
Mhm.
Now, here's the big shocker when I saw this. Grow Old With Me.
Mm.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm thinking, is this John's song?
Hmm.
We don't know for a fact. And if that's the song that maybe Ringo and Paul are doing together, could be really interesting.
Mm.
It's such a
There's
beautiful song.
Yeah.
It should be a classic today. We all know that, you know. John wanted it to be a wedding song for many people. It was one of my wedding songs, as a matter of fact.
Hmm.
And if it is true that that's the song, you know, that would be really something.
And it's going to be hard to catalog for the Beatles fans from now on which one's which, but I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really, I'd love to hear that.
Also, there's a song called Magic. There's one called Money, one
Hmm.
called
Oh
Better
my.
Days, one
Hmm.
called Life is Good, which is funny because Joe Walsh has one, Life's Been Good.
Hmm.
Thank God for Music, one called Send Love, Spread Peace, and then What's My Name? There are even rumors that Paul will join Ringo on stage for his last concert from the All-Stars at the Greek Theater in Los Angeles. That's on September the 1st. It's just a rumor at this point, and Ringo is also trying to get as many former All-Stars to join him for that show.
Oh, nice. And you know,
Nice.
that's so funny when you said one of the titles is Life is Good. This now kind of makes sense. He partnered with a clothing company called Life is Good. I wear their stuff, and he has a special t shirt that in fact, I'm wearing it right now. It's a little hard to see, but that says peace and love on the top and life is good on the bottom, and he signed it. So and it's the proceeds go to his that the meditation foundation, which the name of
Okay.
it I'm blanking out on. Maybe that's why he teamed up with them, because I was wondering, why. I mean, it's great, but why them? Well, if there's a song called "Life Is Good," maybe there's, he thought that'd be a fun tie-in or something.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So.
All right, some special guests who have popped up on stage so far during Ringo's tour include Emmylou Harris and Gary Burr. That was at the second of two shows at the famous Ryman Theater in Nashville. And just recently at Pier 17 in New York City, Mark Rivera, who of course was the music director for so many tours with Ringo, he was there, and Billy Amendola from Modern Drummer Magazine popped up on stage as well. Ringo makes a guest appearance on the new album from country star Rodney Crowell. Ringo drums on the song. You're going to like this title. You're only happy when you're miserable. That's a Ringo title if there
Yes,
ever
it
was one,
is.
don't you think? Um, it's on Rodney's new album called Texas. Again, Ringo strictly drums on it, doesn't do any lead vocals. Actually, since this is our first show in 4 weeks with news, so there's a lot to catch up on. But one thing I would have definitely have mentioned on the last show, if we had news, is that the movie that Beatles fans have been paying a lot of attention to is that movie Yesterday, which was just in movie theaters, and it is now coming out digitally on Blu-ray and on DVD. The first release will actually be on digital HD. That'll be on September the 10th. Also on 4K Ultra HD, Blu-ray and DVD. That's on September the 24th. And the home release is going to boast a ton of bonus material. It has an alternate opening, an alternate ending, 12 deleted scenes that offer a look at what was left on the cutting room floor. Also, live performances from the main actor, Himish Patel, playing Yesterday and I Want to Hold Your Hand. That's included in there. So that's all coming out in September. So if you want to keep track of this busy month of September of things coming out. You've got Paul McCartney's new children's book, Hey Grand Dude. That's September the 5th. The new documentary, John and Yoko, Above Us Only Sky, on DVD, Blu-ray, and digital. That's September the 13th. Yesterday, those two release dates I gave you, September 10th and 24th. Ringo's second book of photographs, which is called Another Day in the Life. That comes out September 24th. And the Abbey Road Deluxe box set comes out September 27th. Busy, busy month of September.
Yeah.
Save your money, folks. Although it won't be as costly as last year, I think.
Yeah, that was tough. We have a question from a viewer here about the Ringo album. It said, is this new album this October year or next? It's this October, correct?
This October.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense to announce it a year in advance.
Yeah, right.
Kind of right on schedule, isn't it? Ringo's been kind of doing them almost like every 2 years. The last couple, anyway.
Yeah.
And when it does come out, it will mark his 20th studio album. That's a lot of music.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, Mojo Magazine has just put out a special 50th anniversary commemorative issue for the Beatles' Abbey Road album. This is for their October issue. This extra special package will have a Beatles exclusive. It's a lovingly crafted double-sided Beatles map. One side featuring Beatles sites in Liverpool, the other has Beatles sites in London. There's also an unusual collector's cover featuring artwork from Paul McCartney, and there's a CD of the year's best new music. And so the cover story is all about the 50th anniversary guide to the Beatles' last masterpiece. It's an exclusive inside track on Apple's expanded remix new edition. Okay, should be out in stores fairly soon. And let's see what else. Paul was in Amagansett, Long Island last night. He actually went to a concert by Mumford & Sons. And this was a show sponsored by SiriusXM. We didn't get to mention, since our last show with news was a month ago, the next remastered album in Paul's archive series is said to be Flaming Pie, not London Town and Back to the Egg, as we've been led to believe. So that'll be coming out before the end of the year. There's no release date for that as of yet. We send out happy birthday wishes to Billy J. Kramer, who on August the 19th turned 76. And yesterday, Elvis Costello turned 65. Happy birthday to both those guys.
Absolutely.
All right. So.
All right. So there's always, that's a great thing about everything that's going on. We'll never run out of topics for this show because there's
that's the truth.
There's stuff coming out all the time.
Unreal.
It really is. It really is unreal. Before we get to our episode here, just want to mention, first of all, thank you for all who tuned in to the last episode that was recorded live at the Fest for Beatles Fans in Chicago. Ken and I had a great time with Mark Lewis, and Mark he told us, I want to do something outside the box. And so we came up with the trivia contest, and it was such fun. And there were, the audience was fantastic. Many Talk More Talk viewers were there, and it just was a blast. And what really was cool, you couldn't see it in the video, but there was a 16-year-old kid sitting in the front row, and he was nailing virtually every trivia question. I mean, unbelievable. So good that younger generations are
that's what I want to hear.
That's right. Yeah. Nice guy, really nice guy. And so the other highlights, probably the biggest one was, of course, the three wingmen. If you went to the New Jersey Fest last spring, you saw them. They were back, Denny Lane, Steve Howley, and Lawrence Juber, and they performed Back to the Egg tracks, talking about Back to the Egg. If you're, fan, it's such fun.
Oh, what a treat. I love that album, and that was a real treat.
It really was. And what was really neat this time is Jeremy Clyde was there. Of Chad and Jeremy, I'm sure everybody knows, but he came out, I think it was the Saturday night, and Lawrence Juber accompanied him on guitar, and he sang Julia.
Very
Just him.
nice.
It was I really seriously had a lump in my throat by the end because it was beautiful. I mean his voice, it sounded just a little fragile and but I mean but it suited the song perfectly. I mean
Hmm.
it was just um, so moving. It really was. And Mark Lewison, of course, was fantastic. He did a couple of presentations. Those of you who went to the Monmouth University conference may have seen this. He did a two-part presentation this time on the making of the White Album, and he went day by day.
Hmm.
As to what they were doing as the White Album was being recorded. I mean, it's just incredible. He he's a researcher, you know, beyond compare. I mean, that's all I can say. And so he did a great job. I'd say the crowd was about the same as last year, and it was just great fun. And again, thank you to all who watched and those who were there that participated. And hopefully we'll be doing another live one in next March or April or whenever it is. I forget when it is.
Late
And
March.
yeah, late March. Yep, exactly. So hopefully we'll be doing a big group thing or something. We'll see. But
That'd be
all
nice.
right, yeah, that'd be fun. Absolutely.
It was
All.
it
Oh,
was
go ahead.
fun watching that the Talk More Talk show with you guys and
It
Mark. And
it
some of
was.
those questions were tough.
Yes, they were. And I couldn't believe it. I thought I was kind of in a parallel universe when I was running neck and neck with Mark at one point. I couldn't
Uh-huh.
believe it. I really,
Yeah, right.
I was just like, and except then when Tom Frangione, and thanks to Tom for joining in the fun,
Um,
when Ken said to Tom, uh, why don't you ask some questions? I thought, crap, I'm done.
yeah, right.
Because he really gets detailed and he did not disappoint.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it was a really good time. So as I said, hopefully next March or April we'll be back with another live episode, and number of us will be there. It'll be fun. So
Hmm.
yeah. So, all right, let's get on to our main topic, which is Ringo Starr and his All-Starr Band. Now, before we talk about the different lineups, Ken and Joe both attended his recent concert in New York. So I thought, let's talk a bit about that first. How the show was, how it's differed from other shows. So, Joe, why don't you kick it off?
Well, I believe you're referring to Farmingville, New York, where Ken and I got to meet each other after the show, and I really had a great time. And I'm not somebody who just says that. Oh, he's going to say he has a great time every time. I do. I love seeing Ringo, but you know, it's just the weirdest thing. I thought Ringo, he's 79 now. Maybe a little bit he's going to slow down or something like that. And I was amazed at this man doing his jumping jacks, having a great time, bouncing around, not missing a beat on the drums. And I don't know if Kenan spotted it, but maybe he does this all the time. I don't know. But I thought even a couple of times he was amused. He was having a good time. Somebody might have caused him to laugh on the lyrics a couple of times. He let out a couple of laughs while he was singing, just having a really fun, good time. And I said, I say this every time with Paul too. I say, he's going to be 80 next year, Ringo, and I could see him doing this at 80. It's only a
Mhm.
year away. You think maybe they're going to show signs of stopping, but not a chance. I mean, I had a great time. The only thing to try to balance it a little bit for me is, the same band members for the most part, with a couple of changes
Mhm.
since about 2012.
Mhm.
One of the things I've always loved about the All-Stars, as everybody does, I'm sure, is that when they mix it up a bit, you have so many different lineups, which we'll get to, over the past 30 years. That's astonishing to me. Who could ever have conceived?
Hmm.
When Ringo started in 1989, 30 years ago was 1959. Give you some perspective how old that 30 years is. I mean, that's something. Uh, and I would say though, if he does a show at 80, and hopefully he does, I think it's a must that maybe he really try to really bring a lot of new people in. But he loves playing with this particular bunch of guys. I know that. He said that, and that's probably part of the reason why they're gelling so good, and he wants to keep this particular lineup. But I mean, I love all of them. I had a great time. Everything they sang. I love Colin Hay doing his Men at Work tunes.
Sure.
And just about everything. So I like Santana. When they do Santana songs.
Yeah.
And Ken, anything to add?
Well, everything you said, I agree with there. I think part of the fun in following him the last 30 years doing this is seeing the changes in the lineup. But at the same time, there's something about Greg Raleigh and Steve Lukather in this band. You get the impression they are the best of friends, and they are so tight in what they play. And no matter, even with the few lineup changes, this never gets old to me. Everybody has a good time. That's the
Yeah,
that's the joy of seeing this show, is first of all seeing Ringo have a good time, most of all, which is what you want. And
Yeah.
this is what his dream has always been, to be in a band with musicians that he respects and to play with them and to play well and to have everything gel. And all of these bands in the last 30 years have done just that. And for some reason, the band that he's had the last 7 years, and I know Todd Rundgren left and Richard Page left, but that band seems to be his favorite. I don't know why. He's worked with so many great musicians, but just to see him on stage having a good time, a lot of what he says on stage is shtick that he says at almost every show. And then at the same time, he throws in a few things that's new, that's spontaneous. And
yeah,
that's also a part of the fun. If you go to 2 shows in a row, you'll notice that. You'll notice he'll say something on stage that he didn't say in the previous show. But and also, this is not a band where everything is like they're playing the same thing every single show. If you listen carefully to what people like Steve Lukather play from show to show, they play different solos. Steve does from night to night. Greg Bissonette mixes it up. Part of the thrill in seeing this particular lineup for the last 7 years, Greg Bissonette is a tremendous drummer. And Greg Bissonette and also Warren Ham don't get enough credit for all that they do in this band. They're like the unsung heroes.
Yeah, they're
But
really versatile. That's what struck me. I saw last year's
yeah,
All-Star band, and yeah, they were so versatile, and there's so many styles they have to play, and they make it look easy.
yeah. Usually in all of Ringo's shows, there's always one song or two where he takes a break and he lets the band play. And for all these many years with this band, Greg Raleigh does Black Magic Woman, and man, Greg Bissonette just shines on the drums and he goes all over the place. And it's always interesting to know what he plays on that particular song. But also I have to admit that part of the fun in going to these shows is not just how well the band plays, but I spend a lot of time watching the audience reaction. And because of the fact that most of the people who go to Ringo shows are not like me, that are going to go to every tour.
Mm.
There may be some that have only seen him through maybe 3 of his tours, for example. They always leave smiling. They always leave
yeah.
happy.
Yes,
They
yes, I noticed that.
they feel content with what they saw. It was a good show. It usually runs 2 hours. Almost every single song, hopefully, is a song that people know. Although I have noticed through the years that if there's a teenager there that's near me, I like to watch their reaction. They know Ringo stuff. They know the Beatles stuff. They might not know Men at Work. They might not know Average White Band music. They might not know Mr. Mister when Richard Page was in the band.
That's what's strange.
But
Yeah.
they all seem to know Ringo and they know the Beatles stuff.
Yes, why is that?
And
Yeah,
thankfully for classic rockers, most of them know the Santana songs. Those are classic, and hopefully they know the Toto songs. But it's such a joyous experience. And even though, I wish that Ringo would go deeper into his catalog
yeah.
and play
I was
songs
just
that
gonna
he's
say that.
never done live before, I leave smiling. It's still a great show overall. It's not just to get a history lesson on Ringo Starr's career. You don't go there for that reason. You go to hear songs that are the biggest hits from all these people for the most part. You see the crowd react to it, enjoying it. You see how the band interacts on all these songs. How they're all having a blast playing each other's songs, not just their own. And the only time when these musicians do that How often does Hamish Stewart go out and do a Toto song
Mhm.
on stage? Or, if Todd Rundgren is in the band, how often does he do a Santana song live? It doesn't happen that often, but it happens with this kind of a format. And, as we're going to discuss here in the last 30 years, there's so many amazing lineups that man has put together. Some of them on paper don't make sense at all sometimes, but
Yeah.
these bands gel. They really do. And, that's part of the experience. I really enjoyed seeing the crowd react to Colin Hay at both of my
Yes.
shows, in
Yes.
Bethel and in Farmingville. And in particular, the song Overkill, which was not a number one hit for Men at Work here in the States. It
Mhm.
was a top 10 hit. But as soon as the band went into it, I heard the crowd go, "Oh." like they
Yeah, I
like
saw
they
the
were.
same thing. Yeah.
You heard that?
Yes, I noticed that. We weren't too far. We were from each other, kind of on
Yeah.
an angle from each other. But yeah, I noticed the same thing. I mean, I prefer. I like all those songs that Colin Hay did, but that's my least of the three if I was going to put them in order. But yet everybody seemed to love that one. I noticed that too. I made note of it.
And
Yeah,
not only
in
that,
fact, yeah, Ken,
part of the magic in seeing these shows is that maybe everybody in the audience wouldn't go to a Colin Hay concert
Mhm.
or wouldn't go to a Toto concert. But this way they get to hear the music of all these musicians as presented in this format. And it really works. And the
Yeah,
2 hours go by very quickly. And the
Yeah,
musicianship is
sure.
great. Ringo is very lively on the drums. I'm always watching what he's doing. And,
Me too.
there's a lot of energy that he has that he puts behind the drums. And it's nice to watch him and Greg side by side and to hear what each of them are doing. You
yeah,
know,
absolutely.
Ringo lays down the basic beat and sometimes adds some really interesting fills, and Greg flourishes a lot on a lot of the songs.
Mhm.
But the two of them coordinate things together, and it's fun watching that aspect of it too. I could just watch Ringo drum.
Yeah.
That's all I care
Yes,
about.
right, right.
So,
You know,
yeah,
I was really caught up as I am every time when he does a song like as simple as "I Want to Be Your Man." I mean, I'm thinking, wow, he did this in Washington,
Uh huh.
for example, and I'm seeing him. He's still doing it. It's almost 2020, almost, and it's like in 1964, the year 2000s were like something out of science fiction, fantasy. And now here we are, still drumming in 2019 on "I Want to Be Your Man," and I'm watching it, not just watch it on some old television set or something. And I'm just going to sneak this in while I
yes,
don't
I was
forget.
just about to ask. Yeah, yeah.
Because,
Joe showed this on his
mm,
channel,
Yeah, I
uh,
didn't buy the
yeah.
program.
and it's
How
a
is it inside?
beautiful
Yeah, have
program.
you
So
Well,
looked
yeah,
at it?
show it
this
off.
is yeah, it's an exceptional program. I mean, they did a good job with this one. You know, the cover there.
Mm-hmm.
Give more love. It says album out now, which I suppose it still is, uh,
I
if you
hope
can
so.
find it. But I mean, without going through the entire thing, well, one thing I did notice was kind of strange. I'm thinking the New York dates were kind of late additions because they list all of the venues and the New York shows are not in there. They go from August 1st to the September 1st here,
Mm.
and they go from Philadelphia, the Met in Philadelphia, August 14th, then right to State Farm Center in Illinois on the 20th, which I thought was interesting. But let me show you what Ken said at the beginning was really spot on about Ringo saying how, uh, without reading the whole thing, in 1989 I toured with my first All-Starr band, and how great it is to be here now in 2018, as it says in the book, with my 13th All-Starr band. And he says it was his dream. And he's still living his dream, and it's like a beautiful little piece there. If I can show you, I know it doesn't
Yeah.
Mm.
translate too well, and just a lot of good stuff here. Good photos for people who like the photos. We talked about Colin Hay. I mean, there's a nice
Yeah.
spotlight on Colin Hay, and there's a whole rundown, which is too small really to see, but a list of all the people who've been in past All-Star bands. It's a 30th celebration, and all the lineups there on the side there. This is really a nice program. I mean, they're always good to have, but I really enjoyed this one in particular. I thought they did a magnificent job on this one.
Yeah, it looks
So
beautifully designed,
Yeah.
nice John,
I'll bet you Ringo had absolutely no idea that when he started this in 1989 that he'd continue doing this, for
Exactly.
so long. And we have to thank David Fishoff for that because he's the one who brought up this whole idea
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
doing an
I
all-star
remember.
band. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he made sure that in that first tour that he packed the band with a lot of all-stars because, as he has said, he's very insecure. So he was surrounded by so many names. And
Yes.
if you notice through the years, if you watch the first tour or the early ones, a lot of those musicians only get two songs
hmm
because there's so many of them.
Hmm.
And as he
True.
stripped it down and he made them smaller bands, most of the time the musicians get three songs now. But actually, Ringo also benefits from that because in the very beginning, he only got like 7 songs or so to sing
Hmm.
lead to in the very beginning. And now it's more like, I haven't counted it, it's probably about 10, 11, maybe 12.
Uh, yeah, I
So,
haven't counted them. This is a good time for me to say. I noticed that he seems very fond of the song "Anthem" from
mm,
Ringo 2012, the album,
Yep, he's
and
on there too.
I don't mind. I mean, I like the song myself, but I think he does it mainly because it's a crowd and he's promoting peace and love,
Right.
that
right.
kind of thing. Uh, as much as I enjoy it, and as Ken said too, I agree. We want him to go deeper. That's now especially a deep song. It's a deep cut. It's not anymore. It's from an album of 7 years ago now or something. But I'm
Yeah.
wondering. He chooses that one, and I'm like, as much as I don't mind hearing it, I'm like, oh, I always think of Snookeroo for some reason. I don't know why
Oh,
that
yeah.
one. I
Hmm.
say Snookeroo. Come on. I was almost going to yell it out. I was close enough. Maybe you could have heard me, but I don't know. Uh, we all have our choices, but I know a friend of mine went. My friend Anthony. Everybody knows Anthony from watching my channel. He's a Beatles fan. He doesn't know as much of the solo music, but he's really getting to now. And he said, "Oh, I wished he was going to do Drowning in the Sea of Love." I said, "Ringo is not going to do Drowning in the Sea." And he said, "What about No No Song?" And I said, "Well, he's done that
Yeah.
before." And I am a little surprised he leaves that out because being his situation of how he's sobered up now, and
Right.
I always thought it felt right whenever he did that in the show. But you can't have everything in the show in the allotted amount of time that he has to do it. I get that, but if every tour he'd put one deep cut in there, something different for the hardcore fans, it would be nice.
Yeah, where Anthem is concerned, I think it's a song that actually works well because of the message, but I think it really rocks with this band. I
It's a,
think it,
it's a
it
it's a good
translated
song.
very well. It's a good song and it deserves to be heard, but like you said, Snookeroo is way up the top of my list, Joe, of
Yeah,
songs that I
I,
that I would love for Ringo to do live, and certain songs you could hear that would work well live. In fact, there are songs in recent years, and certainly during the Mark Hudson period, that he performed live with the Roundheads that
mm-hmm.
worked very well live. And I'd love to hear songs like those, like
Yeah,
"What
we
in
have
the
a couple
World"
of
or something
tours.
like that.
Yeah.
One cut like that. Not just because I like the song, but there are some songs that you like that for some reason don't work that well live. For some reason, when he did "Oh My," which was only one tour, I believe,
Yeah,
it
right,
did
right. I remember
it
that.
didn't work that well for some
I would have
reason.
thought it would, but it did. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that myself. Um, why that is, I don't know. But I was thinking this is going to be good when I heard through the grapevine that he was doing that time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, but I was grateful to be able to say that at least I saw him do it though, but can't have everything."
Yeah.
We have
One thing
some
I wanted to say about the show in Bethel, which was a tremendous show, there's no doubt about it. And before Ringo and the All-Stars played, they had two opening acts, and they were Blood, Sweat, and Tears, who performed at the original Woodstock. Although I don't think there's any original member left in this lineup of Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And also, Edgar Winter was there, and Johnny Winter, his brother, played at the original Woodstock, and Edgar played with him. So
mm,
you had two acts that represented Woodstock 50 years ago. I'm kind of surprised that Ringo didn't play up the whole Woodstock 50th anniversary, but he did introduce Greg Raleigh, since Greg was in Santana, who played at Woodstock 50 years ago. And he said, Greg was here the last time.
oh.
He never said 50 years ago. It's the last time because that was the last, concert there. But And it was nice. It was very touching when Greg did his first song. He said, 50 years ago, I played up there. Because it wasn't on the exact same grounds. It was close by where
Yeah.
the stage was. But it was an amazing show. There's no doubt about it. And it was a very emotional thing for me to be there because I've never been to Bethel before. And, going to the museum, which I highly recommend anyone, if you want to learn a lot about rock history, if you're curious about Woodstock, so many people watching this show are too young at the time. You want to learn more about it, go to that museum. It's extremely well done. I get choked up thinking about that museum because of what I experienced going there. It's a lot more than just the music of Woodstock. It's all about the 60s and everything that went on during the 60s. And they even have an in memoriam segment that they have on a TV screen of every single performer and people who were involved with Woodstock who passed away, all in chronological order.
Wow.
It's very well done. And just to be there at that site was really something. In fact, there were some fans there that were there 50 years ago, and it was
Wow.
nice to see them. But
Absolutely.
when I watch Woodstock footage now, because I saw so much of it in the museum, I just feel like I want to jump right into the film and be with those people. When you
Yeah.
consider what they went through, I know it's all romanticized now, but it was such a tremendous moment in rock history. And
Yeah.
just knowing that I was there at that site, and it was really something. We're having trouble getting Kit back on the show, as
Oh
you
my.
may have noticed. So we're going to hope that she joins us fairly soon.
Oh, Kit just disappeared for me. She was here.
Okay, am I
She
back?
was.
Actually, I
Oh,
see her
okay.
now.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
I see you.
Okay, that's weird. Yeah, I kept trying to talk, and I'm like, why is everyone talking over me?
Oh,
Uh,
I just saw a black screen where you normally were. I didn't
That's
see you at
weird.
all. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. No, I'm
it's
glad.
magic.
All right, I'm back. And just want to mention some people have been mentioning songs they'd like to hear perform live. Ringo perform live. Oh my, would love to see Willie Nelson join him on stage to sing "Write One for Me." Dead Giveaway,
Ah,
Choose
Oh yeah.
Love, and Give More Love. I think those are the ones. Here's another one. Okay. Let's see. One song I'd love Ringo to do live is Old
Old time
Time
reloving.
Lovin' from the
I
Bad Boy album.
I
Hard
enjoy that
times. Hard
song.
times.
Hard Times worked well, especially in the Ringo
TV
the
special.
Ogderettes TV special.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, very
I-
nice.
yeah, some deep
How about
cuts.
Speed of Sound? That's one song that I always wondered why he didn't do that when the album was out.
Oh, Joe, listen to me. Listen to this. Give More Love. First song is called We're on the Road Again.
The road again.
Mhm.
It's written with Steve Lukather, who's in the band.
Yeah,
Hello.
it's a natural.
And
It's
it's
a
a great
natural.
rocker. Why doesn't he do that? I don't understand it.
Mhm.
But at the very beginning of the tour last year, he was performing "Give More Love." It was only
Right.
a few shows, and then he dropped it.
Huh. That's
Amazing.
interesting.
So yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
All right. We need to move on to the next part of our discussion, which is what members or lineups, however you want to phrase it, do you think were the best with for Ringo and the All-Stars? And I'll just kick it off and say. And I fully admit this is kind of a sentimental favorite. Well, partially sentimental because it's the first time I ever saw them live. It was the second All-Star band from '92. And I mean, it was a heck of a lineup. You had Randy Bachman, Mark Farner from Grand Funk Railroad, Billy Preston. I'm so glad I got to see him. Felix Cavallari, John Entwistle, Zach Starkey, of course, and Mark Rivera. So I mean, it was a heck of a lineup. And I remember, for some reason, it really stuck out for me when Felix Cavallari did Groove 'Em.
I
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that was the third tour, Kit.
Oh, was that the
Oh,
third?
that's
I thought
'95.
Yeah,
that was the
because
second.
no,
You sure you
Burton
saw?
Cummings.
I
Burton
saw it.
Cummings. Yeah,
I saw it.
easy thing to remember is Burton Cummings from the Guess Who was in the second tour. Randy Bachman was in the third.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. No, I
So
said the wrong thing. It
okay,
was,
It's
yep.
okay.
For some reason, I always kind of reverse their names. So
Yeah.
sorry about that. But yep. Someone else said 95 tour. So sorry about that. No, it was the earlier tour.
Okay.
And it was really, I remember Felix, as I said, Felix Cavalieri was fantastic. Of course, Billy Preston, what can you say? You know, it really was a special lineup, and just all these legends at one show, and just an amazing. So that was one of my favorite lineups because it was just so many heavy hitters there, and to see John Entwistle, are you serious? I mean,
Yeah.
only one of the best rock bassists of all time. I mean, and seeing him do Boris the Spider, and I mean, so
Yes.
that's always going to be my absolute favorite. So that's mine. So
Wow.
Joe, how about you?
Well, Kit, we're right on the same wavelength. My favorite is 95, and that's Randy Bachman, Felix Cavalieri, John Entwistle, Mark Farner, Billy Preston, Mark Rivera, Zach Starkey. Again, I believe he was there twice, right, in 95. 92 was also, those are my two favorites, 95 and 92. Where Burton Cummings, Dave Edmonds, Timmy Capello, Niels Lofgren, Todd Rundgren, Timothy B. Schmidt, Zach Starkey, again, and Joe Walsh. In 1992, I went with my now deceased friend, my best friend who passed away, unfortunately, in 2010, but we had a great time going there. That's another reason why that's a special one for me. But the 95 and 92, I'm going backwards there, are really my favorites. As I was looking at some of the lineups, I realized there were ones I would have liked to have seen. By my count, I think I've seen Ringo this other night recently. It was my 8th time. I think it's been 8 times. So I did miss a few in there. I think there's 13 lineups, if I counted them right. Or 13 shows, some of them the same.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, Joe.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, wow.
Sorry to interrupt.
Got Tom.
Cameo appearance here.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Hey, Tom.
How's it going?
Doing
Good.
great.
Here.
How's the show?
Yeah.
Well, we still got some time. We're officially in our sardine can, so we're all snuggled in. And but if you want me to, I can try to do let's flip this phone around here and show you the stage real quick.
Okay, sure. All right.
So it's one of those stages that rotates. It's a singular theater, so it just rotates. And luckily they don't have to get off the stage and rotate it like they did back in 1964. So
yeah.
But it's a really intimate seating. There really is no bad seat here. So it's only, I think it seats just under 3,000. So it's pretty cool.
That's cool. How's the crowd?
Yeah.
What's the crowd?
Yeah, they're starting to fill in. The show is sold out, but like I said, it's still like another hour away before a show starts.
Oh, it's early yet. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure I get a shirt and all that stuff before they run out. So continue. Where were you guys at?
So we were just talking about our favorite all-star band lineups.
Gotcha. Well, I think I interrupted Joe, so go ahead and continue, Joe.
No, well, it was good. Timing couldn't have been better, I don't think, because I had just really finished that 92 and 95. Well, not in that order necessarily. 95 to 92, my two favorites. Missed a lot of them. Otherwise, I would have liked to have gone to a bunch of them that I missed. I would have liked to have seen Peter Frampton. Was in one of them?
Yeah.
I missed that one.
Yeah.
And some other people too that I didn't get to see. But in the 2000s, I got back on track a little bit. I got to see Edgar Winter. I enjoyed seeing later on in the 2000s to see him do Frankenstein. Because I grew up with that song as a single, and that's me. I'm done. On that. What about you, Ken?
Oh, well, I've loved all the lineups, but by far and away, my favorite has always been the one from 2001. and that's the one that had Roger Hodgson, also Greg Lake, Howard Jones,
Yeah.
Sheila E.,
Oh yeah.
and Ian Hunter. And there was so much variety in that show. The fact that they went from a song like "In the Court of the Crimson King"
Oh yeah.
to "The Glamorous Life" by Sheila E., that's what I'm talking about when I say certain bands might not make sense on paper, but when you see the show and you see how all the band members work so well together, and I love the mix of it. And Rinder was getting into the '80s there with having Howard Jones, who's a favorite of mine. Roger Hodgson is one of my favorite singers in all of rock. He has a tremendous range. He could sing so high. I mean, just listen to the Logical song, and you'd know that just from his voice. And to hear the classic stuff from Greg Lake, like Lucky Man, it was an incredible show. Ian Hunter is always great. Just saw him recently, as a matter of fact. I just love that lineup the most, but I'll take any one of those lineups. And there were three tours in particular where Jack Bruce was playing bass and
Yeah.
Peter Frampton was on one of those tours. That was a great jamming band. Gary Brooker was in two of the tours with Jack Bruce. You mentioned Edgar Winter. He's a joy to see. Anytime you see him in concert, he always does Frankenstein. He has to. And he jumps around to so many different instruments that he plays. And that's part of the fun of watching Edgar Winter.
Mhm.
And I liked all of them, and I'm a big fan of Todd Rundgren. And I love whenever he's a part of the band because he brings the fun element to it. He's always dancing around the stage, clowning around, going behind Ringo's drum kit or behind Greg Raleigh or whoever it is he's playing with. But they've all been great. It's really hard to pinpoint. But the one that stands out the most for me is got to be that show in 2001. And I've been to every single one of his tours, at least two shows each. So it's probably around 30 shows of his that I've seen. And
Jeez.
Wow.
there's
Wow.
there's there's nothing like the beginning when it all started, when you had all those great musicians.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Two members of the band in your
Yeah.
band
That's
with
You
right.
really
Ron
can't beat
Allman,
that
Rick.
lineup. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Tom, how
The
about you?
'89 one, the
Yeah.
first one in '89 was really terrific, despite
Right.
the ponytail. Other than the ponytail.
yeah.
Well, the first time I didn't get to see him, I think it was '97 with the Gary Booker, Jack Bruce, and Todd Rundgren, and I believe it was the drummer from Free was there as well. I believe
Simon Kirk.
yeah. So that was the first time I got to see him live, and then the second time was 3 years ago here in Phoenix, and that was with the band that had been together for 4 or 5 tours. So it was really cool to see Todd Rundgren, and I was working that show, so I got to meet everybody where we were feeding them. So that was really cool to be 7 feet away from Ringo Starr. Was just like oh crap, I hope I don't pee myself moment. So that was really exciting, and then now here I am today. But yeah, I really loved that lineup with Jack Bruce and Todd and Gary Booker, and just doing Whiter Shade of Pale. It's just an amazing song, and then to finally hear that song live, it was just an amazing moment.
Wow.
Could I just say one thing?
Mhm.
I loved when Eric Carmen was in the band. And I know
Oh,
there's a
yeah.
lot of Beatles fans who are Raspberry fans or they followed Eric Carmen's solo career. It was great to see him because I've never seen him outside of, there was a Raspberries reunion, actually twice, about 10 years ago. I've never seen him solo. So it was a thrill for me to see Eric Carmen, whose voice was phenomenal, and to do All by Myself and go all the way. And,
Yeah.
I wish he'd come back in
I'd
this
see him.
lineup. Yeah.
Absolutely. So in our last segment here, we need to talk about, and we have a lot of people who've already weighed in on this, and we invite all of you watching now to keep it going. Who would you like to see in future All-Star Band tours? We've established that Ringo is in such great shape that hopefully there will be more, many more to come.
Right.
But for the time being, let's think about it. Now. These are artists that not only can they sing, but they are also, instrumentalists of some kind. I mean, that's
True.
what
Right.
Ringo prefers. So just to have some rules here. So
Yes.
all right. So Joe, who would you nominate?
Well, let's see. Let's. I have a bunch, but how about Mike Nesmith, Mickey Dolenz? Well, I mean, one and one, not necessarily both of them at the same time necessarily, but Mickey Dolenz, I believe, plays the drums and
Mhm.
what else does
Guitar.
he play? Guitar. And I was thinking of a YouTube video. There's a video out there somewhere, an interview with Ringo, and somebody mentioned Mickey Dolenz. Did anybody ever see that clip? As a possible future member, and he just goes Mickey Dolenz like that. But I think he was having fun. I don't think he don't think he was serious. It's somewhere you can see that because I'd always thought that. Now I don't want to steal any of Kit's here, but the other day Kit had a live stream, and I brought up Rico. I don't know how to say his name, Rico Kasich or
Yeah.
Kasich from the Cars.
It's Okasik.
Kasich.
It's really Okasik.
Well,
That's how he pronounces it. So
Okay.
you say tomato, I say tomato. But I love the Cars. I'm going to throw a few out there. I have a whole bunch here. I don't want to take everybody's. I'm gonna. Let me see here. Joan Jett. Now I know somebody, maybe it was Kit, said Joan Jett the other day, but I love Joan Jett, I really do, and I wonder how she would fit in there. The closest we ever got was she was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame the same time Ringo was, and to see her, for me as a Joan Jett fan, to see her like on stage when they're doing With a Little Help from My Friends was kind of surreal in a good way. But she plays guitar, and my girlfriend threw in some suggestions too, but I'm not really sure if they play an instrument like she came up with Daryl Hall,
yes,
Hall and
Got
Oates.
another someone else nominate Daryl Hall. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Daryl
that's
Hall
what she
plays
said.
He plays guitar and piano. So
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There you go. Shows you how much I know. And she said Tony Tennille, and I said, well, we're trying to get some women in there. I said Tony Tennille. I don't know, but it's her choice, not mine.
Well,
That's a start.
Yep, absolutely. All good nominees. Tom, how about you? Other than what we're going to see tonight.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I followed that concept with artists that are very talented. They can play multiple instruments as well and can sing multiple hits. And and I switched and I separated it by instruments. So rhythm guitar. I also picked Joan Jett, which I know you and Bill King had a conversation about seeing more women in the All-Stars. So she would be one I would like to have seen. Yep. Also on rhythm guitar, his name is Matthew Sweet. He was a big pop, alt pop rocker back in the '90s. He's still going today, and he's a big Beatle fanatic as well. Keyboards, I think Stevie Winwood would be a cool member. I mean, he's got multiple songs that he could do, and he's a really talented musician. And then another woman, Christy McVie from Fleetwood Mac. I think she would make a great addition. Lead guitar, I don't know the chances of ever seeing Eric Clapton in an all-star band, but the guy could play anything, probably do any song, any genre of music, so that'd be cool to see him on lead guitar. Bass, Rush is no longer a band, so it'd be cool to see Geddy Lee, going back out on tour, because he loves to go back, he loves touring. And then, because Timothy B. Schmidt's never been an all-star, has he?
yes, he has.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, he has?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember if he was or not.
Second tour, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then on drums, I was nominating either Mick Fleetwood. I think he would be fun on drums. And then Stuart Copeland from The Police. I think he'd be a good fun personality behind the drums, And then on saxophone, since Bob Seger's done touring, Alto Reed I think would be a great pick for horns on the tour.
Absolutely.
So,
Those are all good picks.
Tom, I have a
Thanks.
question.
Yeah.
Tom,
Yeah.
you're mentioning someone like Stuart Copeland. You're thinking of as a second drummer,
Yes.
to compliment Ringo, not someone to
Yeah.
sing like police
Correct.
songs?
Yeah.
Okay. All
Right.
right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Ken. What have you got?
I got too many.
Yep,
All
yep,
right.
yep.
I'll read off the list. I'll try to do it as quickly as I can. But when it comes to women, there are three in particular that I automatically think of. Chrissy Hind is a natural. I mean, the
Sure.
Pretenders, such big Beatle fans. Certainly, Chrissy is a big Beatle fan. Has been friends with Paul for so many years and with Linda. She would be a natural. Susanna Hoffs, of course, from the Bangles. That's a natural.
Mhm.
Either Anne or Nancy Wilson of Heart.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, they're huge Beatle fans. They can play so many different instruments. Um, I would also mention for women Christine McVie. I just think that she would fit in very nicely,
Yes.
more so than other members of Fleetwood Mac for some reason. But I could definitely see her on keyboards and doing a few of her songs, Fleetwood Mac and her solo hit, because she had one hit on her own. Um, this is a pipe dream, but I certainly would love to see Carole King. I
Me
mean,
too.
she
Oh,
is
Ah.
sure.
That
Oh,
was
she is
on my
wow.
list too.
she's the greatest female pop songwriter to me. And for so many of these people who are superstars and icons, they don't need to do this. It's more for the fun of it, and because they admire Ringo, and it would be an honor to be in a band with Ringo and with the other musicians that he picks. So I doubt Carole King would do it, but I would love to see Carole King. Um, as far as men, I would definitely love to see Glenn Tilbrook from Squeeze in the group. I mean, Squeeze
Good
is such
choice.
a, to me, Beatles influenced band.
That makes sense.
And there's so many great songs and pop songs that they've done through the years. And they did have Paul Carrack in the band, even though he was only there temporarily when he did "Tempted," the Squeeze song, when he was in the
Yes.
All-Stars. I'd love to see Glenn Tilbrook. I'd also love to see Neil Finn
Mm.
from Crowded House. That's another band. Crowded House is one of those bands like Squeeze. To me, if you're a Beatle fan, it's like, how can you not like Crowded House or Squeeze? So much of their stuff is very melodic, great harmonies they do in the band, and Neil Finn to me would be a natural. Daryl Hall, I got down there. Michael McDonald, I think. You know, he's a huge Beatle fan. He's a great keyboard player. Between his solo stuff, the Doobie Brothers, he could fit in very well. Denny Lane. I mean, how could you even question not having Denny Lane in the band,
Sure.
or for that matter, Joey Molland? Get the Badfinger hits in there.
Right.
How about Dave Grohl?
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
he could drum, he could play guitar. You got the Foo
Sure.
Fighters stuff in there. You got Nirvana stuff. You can,
Yeah.
for three songs, that would be easy to do. I do have
Yep.
Mickey Dolenz in there too. Um, Another pipe dream, but in a way, believe it or not, it wouldn't surprise me. Billy Joel. Billy
Oh.
Joel, he's a massive Beatle fan. He's
Yes.
got the thing is, someone like him is an icon, just like Carole King. So many hit records. He does his one gig a month at Madison Square Garden. But for a month to tour with Ringo, to play Beatles songs, to be with Ringo, to be with other people that he probably admires in the band, I think he'd get a big kick out of it. I'd love to
Yeah.
see
That
Billy.
Yeah.
would probably take the shows to more arena size places too, rather than these smaller theaters.
It could. It could. Just a few other names I'm going to mention here. Uh, how would you guys feel about Joe Jackson?
I was thinking about him today. That's really funny. I think he'd be great. I
I
really
could
do.
I could hear him doing "Stepping Out," his big hit. Is she really going out with him?
Yeah.
Yep.
That would fit very
Something always
well.
breaking us in two.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be a good choice. How about Steve Miller?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Steve
Great,
Miller. Sure.
great guitar
Oh, yeah.
player. So many well-known songs. He'd fit right in. How
Yeah.
about Tommy Shaw
Hmm?
from
Yeah.
Styx?
Yep. I think somebody.
Somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nominated already. Yeah. We're
Yeah.
all thinking on the same
A
level.
lot. A lot of good nominations coming up here. A lot.
Okay, I don't want. I want to hear the ones you got, kid, because I got plenty more. I don't want
Okay.
to, duplicate too much.
Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking, like, I was thinking of more women on here. We've mentioned a number of them already, but Bonnie Raitt, I think she'd be great.
Yeah.
Got her hit. She's a hell of a guitar player. I kind of thought about Joss Stone, because she did duet with him on. I wouldn't want them to do the song they duetted on because that was creepy.
Who's your daddy?
Yeah, who's your daddy? That was a creepy song, but but she's
And if Scott Erickson is listening to this, Scott, I think it's a lot of fun, man.
but she's a great singer. I mean, I think she would do well as a team player. We talked about Chrissie Hynde, Carole King, Sheryl Crow.
Yes, Sheryl Crow.
She'd
Sheryl
be
Crow.
a natural. I mean, I think she would absolutely be a natural.
Melissa Etheridge. Sorry.
Melissa Etheridge, absolutely, she would work too. I mean, all these people have their own hits. Joan Jett, we talked about Stevie Nicks, and someone else mentioned that in the comments. That was one. Although, does she play an instrument? I'm trying to.
I think of it.
I've seen her play piano.
Yeah,
Tambourine.
tambourine. That's true. So she has played piano. And then also I was thinking, going to men now. Rick Nielsen and or Robin Zander from Cheap Trick.
Yes.
Love to hear that. They've got the great hits and they could play, extremely well with anybody. Really, really talented. Yeah, someone else just said, who's your daddy? Ringo's worst track ever. Yeah. Yes, they would not do that duet. I don't want to hear that. I just want to hear just her,
There's worse tracks than that by Ringo. I'm trying to think what they are. I'm racking my brain to think of one, but I can't.
Oh,
I love Rack My Brain.
you did there. I see what you did there.
No, I love Rack My Brain. I love Rack My Brain.
Yep.
I gotta come up with one. Come on.
Can I just say, and I lost the name here. Somebody mentioned Paul Weller.
Oh yeah.
That would be
Yes, Paul Weller
fantastic. And Beatle Ed mentioned Elvis Costello.
Yeah.
That's another name that I had on here on the list.
Declan McManus. Oh, yes.
Yes, that, right.
I always tease Matthew Smith about that. I say there's one Elvis, Matthew Smith. Is Elvis, and then there's Declan McManus.
And thank you, Robbie Strauss, for mentioning one I forgot to mention that was on my list, John Sebastian. I was thinking about him too. And someone else mentioned, and I apologize, I'd have to scroll down a lot, but Linda Carlisle.
Oh yeah.
That's not
Does Eric Burden of the Animals, does he play an instrument at all?
Most of the time, I just see him sing.
Yeah, because I'm thinking of him, but I don't know. I don't think he plays anything. Can I just say, there's an obvious one or two, but I'm not one of those fans that always feels I have to. Let's try desperately to have any kind of Beatle-related reunion. But what about Sean Lennon? Is that like out of the realm of possibility?
I would bet that Julian would be a better chance than Sean.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'll take Julian.
I'll take Julian. Absolutely. I mean,
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. That's true.
Certainly would make an interesting tour, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, I gotta go. Okay, I'll talk to you guys next show.
Okay.
Okay,
Enjoy the
enjoy.
show.
Getting a little noisy, so I can't hear.
All right. Enjoy the show.
All right.
Bye.
All right,
Tom.
take care, you guys.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Bye. Yep.
Yeah. I'm so glad he was able to come in there. Let me, while we're naming some more names, let me see if I can do this. Okay. Here are some of the suggestions that our viewers, and I think we've mentioned a lot of these people already, but here are some more. Christopher Cross, Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. Let's see. I'm just looking for ones that we haven't mentioned. Mike Panera from Blues Image and Iron Butterfly.
Yeah.
Mark Lindsay, Paul Revere and the Raiders. Graham Russell and Russell Hitchcock from Air Supply. Martin Barr from Jethro Tull. And then a number of these others we've already mentioned, but that's one group. People really came up with some interesting suggestions. Let me now bring up the next list. We got so many. We have to, so here's part 2. That's and God, I don't know if I can pronounce this. Agnetha.
From ABBA?
From
Yeah.
ABBA. Yeah, from ABBA.
Yes.
Let's see. We've already mentioned a lot of these. Graham Nash, and somebody else mentioned Graham Nash in the comments.
Graham, that's an obvious one.
Yep, Jewel,
Bruce.
which actually isn't
Jewel.
bad. You know, because she's more versatile than I gave her credit for initially. I heard her doing some other stuff, and this one I thought was an interesting choice as well. Bruce Hornsby.
Yeah, that's
I
a
could
very
see
good
that.
choice. And Brian Adams.
Yeah, Brian
on there.
Adams.
That I
Yeah,
could
that's
see.
Someone else mentioned
Yeah.
that too in the comments.
yes, I saw that. Yeah,
I could see that. Absolutely. So now,
good choice.
yep. So all.
But does Ringo have any of these people's phone numbers? Because he used to say, "Oh," I remember he used to say, "Well, I just go in my phone book or something." In the beginning, he used to say, "And just go down the list and call people."
Yep.
I also would like to know, would Ringo go into 90s music? You know, how far up is he going to go?
That's what I was.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it'd be legit to go to 90s music now. I mean, we're almost 20 years removed from it. So I think that'd be absolutely, it would make sense.
Hmm.
You know, absolutely.
Alanis Morissette.
Oh, yeah. I think, yep, that somebody
Well-
mentioned that.
She was on Vertical Man,
Yeah.
the album.
Oh, that's true.
And she
Drift,
said,
Drift Away.
that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't see one of our viewers thought of the Wings guys that were just at the fest,
Mhm.
but Denny Lane is the only one of those 3 that sang lead, really.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Lawrence can sing, and he has sung on stage doing some of the Wings material, but you know, you could hear Denny Lane do "Go Now" and "Time to Hide," and probably "Say You Don't Mind," which was a hit in Europe for
Mhm.
Colin Blunstone. You know, I could see Denny Lane doing it. I don't know about the others. Maybe like Steve Holly would be a second drummer kind of thing.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, or yeah.
We have a very funny Matthew Smith. Pete Best. Pete Best.
I actually have Boy George on my list here, but don't know if he ever. I think he's just at the mic, right? He doesn't
I'm
play
sorry.
anything. Boy George.
Oh, Boy George.
Yeah.
Culture Club.
Yeah, I've never seen him play an instrument. Great voice, though. Absolutely.
Yeah, Denny Sywell's another one, would be like a second drummer.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, he would. I mean, yeah, he's an incredible drummer. So, well, you know, if Ringo.
Peter Cetera.
Yeah, Peterson. Now, I think he was briefly part of an all-star band and had
Was
to.
he?
Yeah, somebody
No,
else
I didn't know
mentioned that.
no, he never was in the All-Stars. You know, he might have been one of those people that joined the All-Stars on stage at the end of one of the shows, but he was never an All-Star.
Oh, somebody wrote he was almost in the 92 lineup but pulled out.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So he came close. So yeah, so I think Ringo, if you're watching or listening, give us a call. We have your next all-star band lineups. We can plan them for years ahead.
Well,
Yeah.
There's so many great people that could join
Lots
in.
of names
Lots
here.
of
I couldn't
names
believe
and
how
people.
many we came up with.
Should I
Absolutely.
mention a few more? Just a few more I got here. How would you feel about, and he's more light rock, Stephen Bishop?
Yeah,
He's
I can see
also-
that.
I love some of his stuff. Yeah.
Me too.
Oh, so do I, and I know he loves the Beatles. So I
On
could
and
see
on.
him. Yep, on and on. Save it for a rainy day.
Yep.
What about? How would you feel about Kenny Loggins?
I think he'd be great. I think he's really, and people want to make because someone else made fun of me saying that Boy George is a good singer. So I don't care. Make fun of me. I like yacht rock. What can I say? Because really, I think Kenny Loggins is an incredible singer.
He is.
Has a number of. I mean, my God, too many hits to mention. So, and he plays guitar. So
Sure.
that would work.
I could see that. I could see that happening.
Yeah.
Whoever it was that mentioned Steve Winwood, was that you, Joe? That was a great.
Oh, no, I think
was
it was.
me.
I think it
That
was
was
Tom.
that Tom.
I think it
That was Tom.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, And actually, someone wrote in with Ray Davies, which would be nice. I
I
don't,
Oh,
don't think he'd do it,
yeah,
but
sure.
yeah, I
interesting.
know. But it's
Yeah.
the kind of thing where if it's for a month, and most of Ringo's tours, every leg is like a month or
Mhm.
5 weeks, why not do it just for the fun of it?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're not on tour right now or you don't have any immediate plans in the studio,
Mm-hmm.
have some fun, make some good money, hang out with good friends, make some great music, and be with Ringo. you
Every
know, so many of these people have nothing to prove.
right.
So that's why I would see this happening. Some of these people. I also mentioned, and I don't know if he's ever sung lead before, but what about Mike Campbell?
Somebody else mentioned him too
Did
in the
they?
comments. I
In the
apologize. Whoever
comments.
mentioned it. It's further
Yeah.
down in the scrolling, but yes, someone. No, I don't think that's weird. Absolutely.
How about Peter Noon? But he doesn't. I don't think he
But
plays
no,
instruments,
he's
right?
he's strictly a singer.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Because
know.
I mean, that's always one of my first on the wish list. But like you say, there's nothing for him to do otherwise because he's not going to play a guitar or anything in
Yeah. Yeah.
between.
There are
That's
a lot of people who are great frontmen singers who are
yep.
not known for playing anything else or just play basic guitar.
Right.
Roger Daltrey is one of the greatest singers ever,
Mm-hmm.
but he
Hmm.
just
Yeah.
plays basic acoustic guitar when he's on stage, whenever he does that.
Mm-hmm.
But Colin Blunstone is one of the greatest singers in rock to me, but he's strictly a singer.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so if you're talking the Zombies, yes, Rod Argent makes a lot more sense than Colin Blunstone.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah.
That's true. Well, there are so many artists we could mention, and we could go on, and there's some wonderful suggestions here that we've been seeing. Thank you for submitting those, and keep the conversation going. When you watch this on Facebook, on YouTube, and it'll be up, of course, anywhere that your preferred podcast listening platform. And we definitely want to hear more of your comments. You've come up with some great people that I wouldn't have thought of, and I'm sure others as well. So thank you so much. This was, as we expected, a jam-packed episode, but
Good show.
it was a lot of fun. So let's go through and tell everybody where we can be found and everything. So Ken, how about you start off?
You can reach me by email at everylittlething@att.net. My website is kenmichaelsradio.com. I do want to mention that I interviewed a McCartney
Mm-hmm.
a few weeks ago. It was Mike McCartney, Paul's brother, who's promoting the new McGear reissue. And that interview is in its entirety now on my website. And if you go to the homepage, there's a link to another page where you can hear the whole thing. Mike said to me, "Let it go as is. Don't edit a thing." So I honored his
Interesting.
wishes,
Cool.
and so it's almost 2 hours of talk with Mike McCartney,
Wow.
talking about the McGear album, talking about the influence that his father was on him and Paul, his photography, his years in the scaffold, and the guy can talk. Trust me. Sometimes I had a tough time getting a word in, but he's a joy to listen to, and check it out on my website. I also just want to make mention of one other thing. Since we're talking about Ringo so much, the other podcast show that I do, Things We Said Today, we just did a show with a very interesting topic. Ringo with Mark Hudson, Ringo after Mark Hudson.
Mm.
Which do you prefer?
Mhm.
So that's
I
our
have no
latest
idea.
show, which we probably should pick up on here at some point
Yep,
in
that
the
may be a
future.
future, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we get different perspectives from Alan Kozin and Darren DeVivo, the other co-hosts of the show, on that. Do you like Ringo during the Mark Hudson years? Do you think those albums were among his best? Do you think he was better after Mark Hudson? How do you compare it all? So you can catch Things We Said Today. It's on Podbean, it's on YouTube, and it's also on iTunes, just like we are. Okay. And always on my website, kenmichaelsradio.com. Look for all the interviews that are on there and Beatles trivia every week. You can win tremendous prizes on my website.
Yep, absolutely, and that's easy to play. You know, really simple to enter, and though he has some challenging questions, don't get me wrong, but
I try to mix it up. I try to make one simple, and the next week, something more challenging.
exactly,
So yeah.
yeah, so mixes it up. All right, sounds good. Joe, how about you?
Well, my YouTube channel, as always, is called Mean Mr. Mayo. And I do different kinds of videos, ranging from Beatles, solo Beatles, reviews. Starting to do more movies, which is not related to the Beatles, of course, but sometimes there are Beatles-related movies right in
Sure.
there. Uh, and I'm going to be doing a video, a topic. I don't know if I want to keep it as a surprise. It has to do with John Lennon, and I think it's a topic that might be good for this show at some point. And you'll see what it is. Hopefully, I'll get to it within the next week or two. It's an interesting idea, I think, so you
Mhm.
can check it out.
Sounds good. Well, I'm intrigued. That's wonderful. Well, as always, you can catch me, my website here, kiddotool.com. I'm also on Facebook. This coming Wednesday, is the return of Deep Beatles, and I'll give you guys a heads up on, a sneak preview of what it's going to be about. I'm writing about Old Brown Shoe, which was
Okay.
interesting song to write about. So I'm not going to say much more. I'll let you read. So that's Wednesday at Something Else Reviews. Deep Soul is coming up as well. I'm writing a tribute to Jerry Lawson, who we lost last month. He was the lead singer of the Persuasions, one of the best a cappella groups you'll ever hear. And they were incredible. So I'm writing a tribute to him. And I'll have a bunch of reviews and all coming up, and another article for Culture Sonar. So as Ken was saying before we went on the air, we all keep busy and stay out of trouble. So this is the way I do it. Of course, you can email us at talkmoresolotalk@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Talk More Talk One, and of course you can find us on our Facebook page. Spread the word. We're glad. I see some people commenting here. We're glad you enjoy the show. We love doing it, and we love bringing you guys into the conversation. And that's right. That's what it's about, Joe. Peace and love. And so, we're going to be back on the next episode. Among other things, we're going to have to mark. This is our 1-year anniversary, which I
Wow.
cannot believe we've been on for a year. So we'll have to do something to mark the occasion. So we'll see. But thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for your comments. So for Ken and Joe, this is Kit saying peace and love. Peace and love.
Peace
Peace
and
and
love.
love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.